Hello, I'm Mark Gotham, one of the authors of Open Music Theory. In addition to writing chapters for the textbook, I'm also looking for ways to use computational methods that can contribute to the openness, accessibility, and flexibility of this wonderful resource. This video will explain some of the tricks I've been working on recently. You don't need to have any computational experience to understand the talk, or indeed to use the resources that I'm describing. Only a basic familiarity with Roman numeral analysis will be assumed. Most of all, I'm going to try and make the case for sharing our harmonic analysis resources in editable formats, so that we can all use and benefit from this functionality in our day-to-day teaching and research. Let's take an example scenario. You are preparing to introduce the augmented triad to your music theory cohort. You're all set to explain the intervallic construction, and now you want to talk through usage of the chord. Unfortunately, the assigned textbook only mentions the augmented triad in passing, and your anthology provides no repertoire examples. So you turn to those wonderful online anthologies for a supplement. Here's the relevant part of musictheoryexamples.com. No luck there. And here's the corresponding topics list in musictheoryexamplesbywomen.com. None there either. So you head to the library to consult other textbooks, and you find that this is surprisingly common. Eventually, you hit upon a resource that does include such a provision. So now you have a few examples to point your students to in class, but you have a sneaking suspicion that they won't all be queuing up at the library to borrow this one book. In truth, you're also troubled by the whole idea of quote-unquote representative examples. How can 3 or 4 repertoire cases hope to stand in for everything the augmented triad has been and could be? So you bring in some quotes from the literature, which speak to general practice for the handling of this chord. When an augmented triad appears in music before 1830, its behaviour is normally well regulated and unobtrusive, tucked into the middle of a phrase rather than exposed at its boundaries, passed through quickly and lacking metrical accent. But you don't want to imply that all uses of augmented triads behave in the same way, so you point to the crucial word by which Cohn qualifies this comment, normally. And for good measure, you play a nice counterexample. How about this augmented triad in Bach's Magnificat, you ask? The chord is introduced by nearly full forces, spanning the full register, and after a dramatic general pause, which itself is preceded by a diminished seventh. You couldn't hope to find a clearer, more dramatically foregrounded augmented triad in any repertoire. This all helps, but it doesn't really address the fundamental problem at stake. Your students still don't have much to go on for further exploration. And I use the augmented triad as an example here, partly because I think it gets particularly little traction in textbooks. But this scenario speaks to the whole business of handling examples and exceptions right across music theory. Wouldn't it be better if we had lots of examples to hand for all the chords and progressions we might want to teach, not to mention manoeuvres in rhythm, meter, timbre, and more? And wouldn't it be best if we had this structured clearly so that you can get right to the example and see it in context? And wouldn't it be fantastic if we could record our different opinions of the passage in question, disagreeing with the analysis provided and submitting our own reading, not to supplant, but to supplement that existing reading? I think it would, and I've been working through some solutions to this and related problems. Basically, it all comes down to getting analyses into a format the computer could work with. Let's take the Liebst du Schönheit from Clara Schumann's Opus 12 Lieder as an example piece. And let's start with a very simple way of writing down an analysis in any text editor. Measure 1, beat 1, D flat major tonic chord, beat 3 goes to the supertonic, and on beat 4 we have the dominant 7th. This is straightforward enough. It doesn't require any additional jargon beyond that involved in Roman numeral analysis itself already. What's significant here is that we can work with this in many different ways. First, let's minimize the amount of typing you have to do by starting with a blank template automatically generated from the score file. This provides the composer, title, and any other metadata. It records the initial time signature and any changes there may be later. It sets up a line for every measure in the piece. And it will even point out identical measures, thus enabling, but not requiring, you to analyse those passages in the same way. So then we end up with an analysis looking something like this. Second, you might want to see that analysis in musical notation. Again, we can easily and automatically get from this text version to the musical one. Third, you might like to see this notation aligned with the score. That's another straightforward process. Now you see it on the score, you may notice something that you'd like to change. Make the changes right there, and again, a simple converter gets you an updated version of the text file. In short, all the plausibly useful conversions are possible, so you can start wherever you like. Speaking of proofreading, why not get some help with that too? You use text editing software like MS Word to catch spelling mistakes, right? This year, I released code that'll do something similar for your Roman numeral analysis. It doesn't seek to make your analysis perfect, whatever that means, but it will help you to avoid mixing up diminished, half-diminished, etc., etc. I found this immensely useful, both to help with marking and to proofread my own work. Here's an example of the code nudging me to get the 7th chord right in a Wolf analysis, for instance. Finally, the moment we've been waiting for. Once we have these analyses in a format like this, we can get to work on our original problem case and find all the cases the analysts have identified in terms of a particular chord or progression. Here, for instance, is a list of augmented triads in the OpenScore leader corpus. This is a search through roughly 100 songs that have been analysed so far from the roughly 800 songs in total in that corpus. The table is a kind of index, with the final column providing clickable links that'll take you right through to the score itself. And we released these scores under the most permissive license possible so that you can feel free to use them in any context and adapt them in any way that you like. This complements the textbook chapter. That chapter can still discuss the chord and provide a few select examples. And the anthology can provide many more examples. This allows the user to explore a much wider range much more freely, perhaps seeking out a particular composer, and judging for themselves what constitutes a normative practice in a particular repertoire and what counts as an edge case. Once again, the computer simply does the storing and retrieving. The analyses themselves are by humans, just written down in a way that the computer can work with. Wouldn't it be great to develop a large collection of analyses in these retrievable formats? The examples I've shown come from a wider collection called When in Rome, which makes a start on building that large corpus by bringing together every single human harmonic analysis that's been shared in a format that we can work with. This includes the examples provided within Music 21, conversions of the collections to have emerged as part of recent computational research projects, and the new collection I've been building in collaboration with students and colleagues, including the songs discussed in this talk. There are great signs of a growing collaboration within music theory pedagogy these days, with open resources, analysis-a-thons, and a healthy and honest discussion about best practice. It would be fantastic to make analyses a key part of that resource sharing and open culture. If we all simply recorded the analyses that we're doing anyway in a usable format, we'd quickly get to a very large and diverse collection, spanning multiple perspectives and a broad repertoire. Please do get in touch if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you'd like to get involved in contributing analyses. Thank you very much.